Node MCU is an open-source LoRa-based firmware and development board specifically targeted for IoT-based application. It includes firmware that runs on the ESP8266 Wi-Fi SoC from Expressy System and hardware which is based on the ESP12 module.
Objectives are to determine the users and information of provided device, to demonstrate a simple function of a program using Node MCU ESP8266, to identify problems and related to the IoT as enabling solution.
Now let's move on to the main features and limitations of Node MCU. Node MCU is embedded with ESP8266 32-bit chip. The operating voltage of Node MCU is 3V and it will support input voltage from 4.5V to 10V. The supported baud rate is 9600 bits per second and the clock speed for Node MCU is 80 MHz. Node MCU contains 4 MB of flash memory and 64 KB of SRAM. Node MCU consists of a micro USB connector that supports plug and play. Although Node MCU is small in size, with a dimension of 58mm x 32mm, it contains a PCB antenna. Now let's find out more about the pins and their function. Node MCU consists of a total of 30 pins which is categorized into 4 main categories. The first category is power. This category contains 3 3V pins which regulates the supply voltage to 3V, 5 ground pins, 1 V-in and 1 VV pins for external power supply. The second category is control. In control, there is 1 enable pin and 1 reset pin. The enable pin enables the microcontroller when high while works with a minimum power when low. The third category is analog, which only contains 1 pin. This pin functions as the analog voltage pin. The last category is the GPIO, which contains 17 pins that is used for input and output to support SPI communication.
Onboard LED monitoring system is a simple program that connects Node MCU ESP8266 with Wi-Fi for data transfer to turn the onboard LED on and off. This system program code can be compiled and applied with Arduino IDE. Before the program begins, make sure that chip driver is installed to allow the connection between Arduino IDE and the hardware. Status of LED can be controlled in the control interface of the onboard LED monitoring page by using the IP address given in the serial monitor.
In order to use the Node MCU ESP8266, we must first install and set up Arduino IDE. For the setup of the software to further use the hardware, we need to go to File, Preferences, Additional Board Manager URLs, and insert this link. Next, in Tools, we are necessary to install the Node MCU ESP8266 board in the Boards Manager and change the current Arduino Uno board to Node MCU 1.0 ESP12E module. The board characteristics can be further referred in Tools 2. For the source code, please download via this link. Then, the Node MCU can connect with PC by the micro USB cable provided. The onboard LED will blink once the data transfer available. Connection can be checked in here, the port in Tools. After all this done, the file can be compiled and uploaded to the Node MCU. While data transfer, the onboard LED will keep blinking. Next, the RST button is pressed to allow Wi-Fi connection, as shown in the serial monitor. Furthermore, the IP address given will paste to browser and obtain the onboard LED monitoring page. Now, the turn on and off button can be pressed to test the Node MCU.
Node MCU is an open source platform with ESP8266 Wi-Fi SoC that allows object connection and data transfer. A simple program onboard LED monitoring system is proposed and simulated to show the function of the Node MCU ESP8266. Node MCU ESP8266 supports SPI communication in slave and master modes. The connection of the client can be cracked by the server in serial monitor under Arduino IDE and IP address is provided. The onboard LED status can be controlled by pressing the on-off button through the control interface page. Status of current Wi-Fi connection and onboard LED will be bring out by serial monitor.